and welcome to Learn Free Music Theory, lesson number 33. So in today's lesson we're going to cover more on scales. This is the last lesson for the scales and the miscellaneous type stuff. We're going to be covering the blues scale, 12th tone row technique, which is very like 20th century music style. We're also going to be covering polychords and chordal chords. Chordal chords. They kind of sound weird when you pronounce them. And tone clusters as well. So it should be a pretty jam-packed lesson. It's probably going to be a little bit longer than normal, maybe, but we'll see how it goes. I never have any real planned like time lengths for these videos. I just stuff as many things as I possibly can in a space that I think people can absorb, and then that's how I do it. So let's get started with the first topic. Alright, so the first scale we're going to talk about here is the minor blues scale. This is actually a pretty popular scale in today's music world. You hear it in like pop music. It's sunken over into some classical, not like older classical music, but more modern 20th century stuff. It first kind of originated with, well, first up, you remember the minor pentatonic scale we were talking about? Well, the minor blues scale, or otherwise known as just blues scale, is actually a minor pentatonic scale with one extra note added in between. This note right here. So if you took this F sharp out, you actually have a C minor pentatonic scale. You put in that F sharp in the middle, boom, now it's a blues scale, starting on C. Okay? So it's related to that scale, but it was developed, this scale, the credit for it goes to the African people in kind of like the southeastern United States. So, and now it permeates a lot of like gospel music in like southern churches and stuff like that. So that's where you're gonna hear a lot of blues scales, but you're gonna hear them in like pop culture, and like it's pretty dominant in today's music industry right now. So it's actually kind of a very interesting scale to learn. I'm actually just gonna run over and quickly play it for you on the piano, just so you can hear how it sounds. It's actually pretty cool. Woo! So anyway, that's your blues scale. Okay, so now the blues scale itself, it sounds pretty cool, eh? It's comprised of this right here. So this is how you build a blues scale. First interval, minor third, major second, minor second, minor second, major, minor third, major second. So what's an easy way to remember this? Just go like this. Okay, take this right here. Whoops, that wasn't very level. That's extremely unlevel. My suit here is pulling my shoulder up when I was trying to draw that. Okay, so think of it like this. This is a minor third, major second. This is minor third, major second. So it's the same pattern on either end, and then in the middle you have two minor seconds. So it's minor third, major second, minor third, major second, and then in the middle you have two minor seconds. That's the blues scale. That's the pattern and the formula for making it. So you can make this on any note, like any key. You can start with like C, C sharp, D, F, G, whatever. And then you use that formula and boom, you've got your blues scale. Okay? So for your homework, in this lesson later, I'm just going to probably get you to draw that out. But that's pretty much all I was going to talk about on the blues scale. Because right in this level of theory, it's sort of just showing you these different things, and then you would expound more on this if you ever got into like higher level university theory, and like I'm pretty sure they cover it more in jazz theory and other things like that, but I'm not going to be going that far. That's sort of out of the scope of what I'm going to be teaching. So at this point I'm just going to show you what it is so you're aware of it, how to build it, and then you can play with it, and then you know what it is. Okay, so that's a blues scale, so write that down if you need to. What does kind of make it interesting is the use of the chromatic passing tone right here, which is the F sharp. And so like you had two tones that were separated, and then they put in another F sharp in the middle, so they added a minor second to smooth it out, and that's actually pretty cool. But anyway, yeah, so that's the blues scale. So let's move along now. Okay guys, so for this next one, this one is a little bit weird. Okay, so it's called the 12-tone row, or the 12-tone technique, whatever you want to call it. Now, it was first developed by this guy up here, Arnold Schoenberg. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Whatever. I'm not very good at pronouncing last names like that. But anyway, that's the guy who created this technique, and that's his date of birth and all that, in case you want to go research this more. Because this could be interesting if you're into the 20th century stuff, or it could be a complete turn off, but I just wanted to present it to you. Okay, so 12-tone technique, what is it? Well, what happened in 20th century music is music started to get more and more kind of like everyone's done everything that you could possibly do, like all the chord progressions were done, and people are trying to think of new ways to expand music and make it different and new and exciting again. And so people are trying to get outside of the system of modes, because first there's church modes, right? And then later we had basically a minor major tonal center kind of push, where you have like, you know, C major, C minor, A minor, whatever. You have that whole key signature thing happening, circle of fifths, so you have something called major minor tonality. Now, people had composed like that for a couple hundred years, and it's getting a little bit boring, I guess. I'm really putting broad strokes here. But basically, they started experimenting more and more and more, breaking old rules, creating new things. And so this guy came up with this thing called 12-tone technique, which basically completely eliminates any tonal center. Because, you know, when we're playing in the key of C major or G major, in G major, G is the central key. So our ears are hearing, are trying to pull back to that note all the time. So this technique gets away from that, and it sounds really weird. Basically, the principle is it's very kind of like random and mechanical, and it sounds very chaotic. So I'll just explain it now. So you've got different kind of modes or layouts that you can basically get from this thing. Or structural elements, whatever you want to call it, really. There's original, retrograde, inversion, and then retrograde inversion. And I was just too lazy to write the whole thing out, so I just put RT because you already know what that is and that is, so. Okay, so original, retrograde, inversion, and retrograde inversion. Woo! Sounds pretty complicated, except for the original. That sounds not too bad. But this looks a little bit weird and scary, so I'll just basically explain what it is. Okay, so we have in a chromatic octave, so that means all 12 notes from, like, say C to C or D to D. If you count, like, go D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, and you just go up, there's 12 different tones, okay? So that's where you get the 12 tones from, and then the technique is arranging those tones. So basically what it is it's like, okay, take a tone row from one octave to another. Okay, now, you're only allowed to use one of each tone once, okay? So say I just have a tone, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to throw out C, and then you pick like a D sharp and whatever. You're not allowed to use that key ever again. So if you pick D sharp, that means you can't pick E flat later, because that's its inharmonic equivalent. So, you know, it's the same note. D sharp, E flat, same note. So you're only allowed to use one of the other. So if you count here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I've used every single different tone that you can within that area, okay? Now you can write them in different higher or lower if you want to, really. This is a very creative technique, and you actually want to avoid using all flats or all sharps, because you want to have it avoid the look of having it in a key or a key signature. So it's great to throw in sharps, flats, naturals, instead of opting for all flats or all sharps or whatever like that. Okay, so the original is basically just throw it out there and just kind of you don't want to have scales going on, because scales would sound too tonal. So just kind of mix it up, make it sound really random. I mean, you can play this for yourself if you want to at home, and it's not going to sound pretty. It sounds very strange. But this is literally something that you have to cover in this level when you're taking music theory in Canada. Okay, next up, retrograde. Okay, so all this is doing is it takes the last note in the original and puts it to the front in retrograde. So notice how my last note is a G. So over here now it's in G, it's a G here. This is a G sharp, so now I have a G sharp here. This is an A, so that's an A. This is a D, so that's a D. You get the picture, right? The only thing you have to watch out for is that sharps and flats, like there's no bars or measures at all, no time. So you have to make sure that you are writing in the naturals to cancel out the sharps or the flats as they go through. So like here I had to put a natural because the sharp is going through here. But here, I don't have to worry about that because it's just G and then goes to G sharp, and then I'm not playing anything more on that key later. So here, look, I had to put an F natural because F was already sharp from here, but F comes before here, so F sharp can go here later, no problem. Okay? Okay, so that's retrograde. It's pretty simple. Now, inversion, that can get a little bit more complicated. So I'll explain this. So what you want to do now is for inversion is you're going to invert everything, and you're going to invert it not by so you'll take your original, okay, and you're going to invert it. So you would move, say, this C down a perfect octave, okay. Now if, say, from here to here, okay, I'm not going to even go into like diagnosing the crazy intervals because this is where it gets complicated. But say you had like a perfect, like a major second going down, so you flip the interval, and now you have a perfect second going, you had a perfect second going down before. Wow, this is kind of complicated to explain. Okay, so you put it down, now whatever you had going down or up, like whatever interval, now flip that. So if you had from note 1 to note 2, a major second going down, now you need to write it so it's a major second going up. So if I had a C here and I moved down to a C here, like, because you first want to flip the first one an octave down, so you're inverting it, then so say your note was going from a C to a, let's just go from C to B, so that's a minor second going down, okay? Now, if I throw this down, now it should be going a minor second up. So you're going to go from C to D flat. Okay? And so that minor second going down is now a minor second going up. And so whatever, now note 3's relationship, note 2 to note 3's relationship is going to be inverted as well. So say from, now you were at B and you went down to a G, so that's like, you know, a minor third, major third. So it's a major third going down. Okay, so now you need to make a major third going up from the second note up there. So if it was a D flat, a major second or major third up from that would be F. So it would be D, so C to D flat to F. Yeah. Oh man. Anyway, if you didn't get that, don't worry. Because yeah, anyway. That's the inversion. So that's basically the formula, and you just keep going. So whatever the interval was going up or down, just flip that. So if it's, you know, major second going down, make it a major second going up from whatever your previous note was. Okay? So you have something that turns out to be completely different than your original looks. Like it's not going to look anything the same, other than your first note will be an octave like down or up or whatever. Okay, so that's inversion. Then retrograde inversion is you combine the two, retrograde and inversion, together. So you would basically do the inversion backwards. Okay, pretty simple. I mean, that's kind of self-explanatory right there. So yeah, so original, retrograde inversion, and retrograde inversion. And I'm probably not even going to put this on the exam. So just do this for your own interest, if you even are interested in this at all, because when I studied this I wasn't interested in it, and I just kind of like pushed it out of my mindset because I didn't really appreciate it or like it so much. But It's kind of in the syllabus of what you need to know for that level, so I was like, okay, I'll just throw this in here. Anyway, if you want to, you can do more research online with it. But yeah. Okay, so let's move on. Okay guys, so chordal chords are the next one that we're going to talk about. Again, this is more of a 20th century sort of thing, but these can actually sound a lot nicer than the 12-tone technique, but they're still sort of a little bit out there. So chordal chords are basically chords that are built from fourths. Notice that most chords, like most standard chords, are built from thirds. So this is sort of a different approach to music theory in general. So chordal chords can be made of strictly perfect fourths, or you can make them of diminished fourths or augmented fourths. Like you can make them purely augmented fourths or whatever. But they have to be fourths. Like you could make them with, you could have a perfect fourth, a diminished fourth, an augmented fourth, all in the same thing. You could have them going like 6 or 7 or 8 notes up, as long as it's like playable by, you know, a human player or whatever kind of thing you're writing it for. Because I guess you could write it for like an a cappella group and you could have a certain number of vocal people going up. So they can produce a pretty interesting effect. It's just another one of those things to play around with, and they're more used in contemporary music than anything else at the moment. So chordal chords, that's them. So basically chords that are built from fourths, hence the name chord. You know, from four, quartal, so four, they're like 4-chord. So it's kind of interesting like that, but yeah. So that's a chordal chord. They're basically chords built from fourths, and that's that. Okay? Okay guys, so the next thing we're going to cover here is called tone clusters. This is again more, as you notice, this theme is very 20th century kind of stuff. So this is a notation developed by Henry Cowell, I guess. Okay, so tone clusters, what are they? Basically, it's a type of notation to shorthand more complicated ways to draw big groups of notes. Okay, so example. Yeah, don't you love my really fast treble clef there? I just like, yeah, it looks horrible. Okay, so obviously these are some tone clusters you could have, and they don't really look so great with the marker, but did my best. This one kind of looks pretty bad, but whatever. So in regular notation, if I wanted to hit every white key, say from E to G, I would write this in regular notation, okay? In tone cluster notation, which is totally valid, you can still use it, this is how you'd write it. So you just write from the bottom note that you want to use to the top note, and then you write a sign above to tell what type of tone cluster you're using. If you want to hit every sharp between those 2 points, then you put a sharp sign above it. If you want to put a natural, you put a natural sign, or a flat, whatever. It's pretty obvious like that. So it's basically, it's not so great if you're going short distances, but it's very useful if you're going long distances. I kind of drew 2 spectrums just to show you. So with the short one, as you can see, there's only 3 notes. It's about just as the same to draw either one. This one might even be easier to draw than that, okay? So, not very hard. Here, I've gotten a little bigger, okay? So now it's 4 notes. As you can see, now this looks, you know, a little bit harder than this to draw. Still not too much of a big difference, okay, whatever. But, look at this. So from F sharp to G sharp, okay, every sharp in between. Now look at this. F sharp, D sharp. Now these are all black key sharps. I'm not talking about like white key inharmonic sharps, like you wouldn't put in B sharp or like C flat or stuff like that, or E sharp. You're not going to put those on. So as you can see, they're vacant from this. So you got F sharp, D sharp, C sharp, A sharp, G sharp. And that is way more complicated to draw than this baby up here. So, and if you want bigger ones, obviously it's going to get even more simple. So these are just composing techniques, really. And so right here, also it's important to remember that stem direction when you're using tone clusters does apply. So the normal rules of stem direction do apply. So basically, you take whatever note value you want. So if you want a half note, you draw, you know, a circle like your half note, or if you want a quarter note, you draw that, whatever. And then you draw a line connecting the two. So as you can see, I have an F sharp up here and the G sharp here. Okay, so I have a line connecting the two in the middle, and then which one of these is farther away from the middle one? Well, it's the F sharp, way farther. So normally the stem direction would go down. Now I can't add a down stem direction because I've already got this thing connecting it, so I put it on the bottom one and it goes down. That shows that all this together is a tone cluster group and it's still following the proper stem direction. On the other ones, they're going up because they're both below the middle line, so that's pretty obvious. Okay, so that's tone clusters there. What are they useful for? Mainly a lot of like 20th century stuff if you want a whole bunch of notes of groups to go down. Usually if it's kind of like a passionate, you know, big, weird, like you could be making something and then something, it's like falling down and then splat. It like hits a whole bunch of keys in the bass clef and you want it to sound like someone's crashing. So you just write a tone cluster from one side to another and boom, there you go. So that's an example you could use. Okay, so one more and then we're done. Okay, this last one I don't really need to draw examples because it's kind of, I don't know, not that useful. Mainly I just need to explain the perception or like the idea behind it. Okay, so we're going to talk about polychords. So first the word poly, what does it mean? Poly means many, okay? So polychords means many chords. It's mainly another 20th century technique. It was used by, you know, a few different composers, including Stravinsky, okay? And basically what it is using two completely unrelated chords and putting them together to make a unique sound. So you've got, say, like D flat major in the right hand and G minor in the left hand, and you're just going to play them down together. You could play a whole bar of polychords where you're just going dun 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 dun, messing around with different things. Now, and that would be called using polychords. Now you can use them randomly, which, you know, even a 2-year-old baby could do, or you can use them strategically and thoughtfully, and again, that's up to the composer and how skillful they are. It's actually quite hard to use these kind of techniques skillfully and make them actually sound good and like have them going somewhere compared to, you know, just hitting them randomly. It does take a bit of thought, but it's achievable with enough training. Okay, so, and also with polychords, you can have them in different inversions. So I could have like A major, second inversion, and C major as well on the left hand. Or I could even have them over top of each other. So obviously this doesn't apply to any real other instrument, but say if you're playing piano and you have like A major, first inversion, so you're playing that, and then you could have C major and have your hand go somewhere and fit it right over top of it and play that, and you could go back and forth between the two chords, or you could play them at the same time or make them go out, or there's lots of different possibilities. So that's basically polychords. Homework. No. Okay guys, so for your homework, this is what I'd like you to do. Okay, so I'd like you to draw 5 blues scales on 5 different keys. So pick 5 different keys and write a blues scale for that one. Use the formula that I gave you before to draw out the scales. Next, I'd like you to draw an experiment just with one tone row. So make up your own tone row and then put it in retrograde, and then if you're really feeling like having fun, put it in, you know, inversion, and then put it in retrograde inversion. And then, you know, try playing it out and see how you like it. And if you feel like doing more, go ahead, do more. 3 tone clusters. So do 3 kind of like, just draw 3 random tone clusters. You don't have to draw a whole bunch of them. Just try a couple, see how they go. Try it in different, you know, try doing a sharp one, a natural one, and a flat one. And try doing them in varying lengths and whatnot, and then convert them over to, like once you've drawn the tone cluster, then convert it over to like a standard thing. So first draw out your tone cluster and then try to convert it into normal notation, like I did before. Okay? And then chordal chord, I want you to draw 3 of those as well. I kind of drew it over here because I want 3 of each. So draw 3 chordal chords with at least 5 notes per chord, okay? And so you're going to notice that they're going to have to go up and quite far, so you're going to have to draw them on a grand staff probably, and mix it up with try doing one with all perfect fourths, one with a mix of diminished and augmented fourths, and then one with a mix of perfect, augmented, and diminished force. And then draw one line with polychords. So draw maybe draw one line with 3 bars in, say, like 4/4 time or 3/4 time, and put in at least 1 or 2 polychords for both hands. It's like simultaneously or whatever for each bar. Okay, and see how that goes. Okay, those are basic. I want you to do this basically to sort of expand. These are like different way out there techniques, and obviously this is more advanced. This level is advanced rudiments, so yeah, we're going to be getting into more crazy stuff. But this is probably one of the more crazy lessons that we're going to have, because the other ones that we're going to do are learning about like compound intervals, which is very relevant, and learning about figured bass and starting to get into like soprano, alto, tenor bass, and stuff like that. That it's going to be pretty useful for harmony 3. So don't think that this is going to be the full extent of this level, because next lesson I think we're already starting on compound intervals or something like that. I can't remember right now, but it's something to do with intervals. I have it written out somewhere else. But anyway, yeah, just don't think that this is it's going to be a whole bunch of crazy stuff for the rest of the level. So just have fun with this. Just think of it kind of like as a relaxing, just experimental, creative lesson, and have fun with this stuff. And now you know that it exists, and you can use it if you're ever composing and you want to throw something crazy in. Okay. Take care, have a good one, and I hope you're doing very well with your music theory and practicing. If you've gotten this far, you're doing quite well. By the time you finish this level, your knowledge of theory will be quite good. It'll be better than most intermediate pianists, or intermediate musicians. So, very good job, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.